discussing some of the changes around Hallis Hall and a different feeling despite last week's game. I was interested this week, Peggy, because after they lost in gut-wrenching fashion in Washington.
I think that's also why I'm so exhausted.
Well, Caleb had said we didn't turn the page quick enough. Remember that? And he's like, we didn't move on fast enough. I'm hopeful that they were able to move on from that Packers loss quicker, but it's hard. Cole Kmet said on his podcast that him and TJ Edwards were in the lifting, and they're like, we grew up watching this stuff, and now it's happening to us. Like, now we're living it.
Wow.
And that's like unbelievable. And to think in a month or 5 weeks how quickly we went from 4-2 to 4 straight losses, and like
where they should have been 6-2, and then it was like, oh Lord, what in the world
what is going on?
Happened?
The wheels have just fallen off.
So one of the things that I found interesting this week, you mentioned Cole Kmet and TJ Edwards, and some of the things that have come out about Shane Waldron. And not holding guys accountable and just kind of letting things go. And it started back in training camp, like Keenan Allen saying those things. I was really like, okay, wait a minute. What is bothersome about that is that Matt Eberflus would get in front of the podium each week and say what a great week of practice it was. When players now are saying there are days where practice was not good.
Right.
And guys are not giving all in. And I thought when Jalen Johnson revealed that he'd be staying late going over tape or film of their opponent, and guys would walk by and say, what are you doing still here? And he's like, I'm going over tape. You want to sit down and join me? Oh, no, I got to pick up my daughter from school. I thought, well, that's a very specific excuse. And that would mean it's at 3:30 in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I thought, and he said, well, sometimes there's days you just have to stay late at work. And that he felt guys should have been putting in more extra effort, and they were not.
Right.
So all these things are coming out now. And it's an indictment on Matt Eberflus.
Of course it is.
Because every single week, practice was fantastic. What a good practice. Good week of practice this week. Don't say it.
Don't say it.
Because this stuff can come out.
Right.
When this comes out, it slaps you in the face. Right? So the other thing that now is this whole Shane Waldron, Thomas Brown. Do you remember the first week, or maybe it was, the first week, like, and when training camp ended, I was at one of the press conferences at Hallis Hall, and I asked you and I asked Courtney your opinions of Shane Waldron, because he was going to be speaking that day. And you both said the exact same thing. Kind of soft, doesn't really command the room, and I thought, okay, is this like, do we give him the space? Do we not know what he's like in the meeting rooms? Do we not know what he is one-on-one with Caleb and blah, blah, blah? I'm going to file that away, whatever. And then you were the one that brought up maybe 3 weeks into the season where it was like, the Shane Waldron is not, I'm worried about him.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is really working out. Now, you asked us if we would put side by side a Shane Waldron bite with a Thomas Brown bite.
Yeah, sound bite. Just listen. You guys, just listen.
Okay, so this is from October 3rd. Shane Waldron, in his response to players saying they want to be coached hard.
Yeah, I think the guys being open to being coached hard, they want to hear the corrections. They want to hear everything that's there. And I think for us as coaches, and it goes both ways too, when you hear constructive criticism or things that you can improve on, it's the players having the ability to not put their guard up when they hear something that's a positive correction. We don't want to live in that negative state right there. And I think all those guys, really starting with Mercedes, really embracing that, talking through things. He had a great rep in practice last week. that we were able to talk through and something that he can think to do better. And I'm thinking, imagine this guy that just broke the all-time tight end games played record, and he's out there every week trying to learn and improve and get better. Good conversation, and it leads to a great rep on the goal line, led to a touchdown right there. So just a good example of that open communication, those guys doing a good job with it, and us working forward thinking on offense of improving every single week.
Everything's positive.
He lost me in all of that.
And then
it
here's
was just jabber. It was just gibberish.
Thomas Brown on the message to the team after a loss.
But I'll start with this, right? So it's kind of what I told the offense on Monday. There are no attaboys in this game. We played a game to win, and we came up short. But I want to start first by saying how much I appreciate the response from our coaches and our players, because last week on Wednesday really challenged the entire group, all the coaches, including myself, all the players to do more, to give more, to be accountable, to practice harder so we have an opportunity to go play well. And those guys did everything we asked them to do. And so it's obviously frustrating when it comes to, not being able to get the result we wanted. But I'm excited and encouraged to continue to do a really good job trying to lead the group and build upon that.
I mean, he just called him out on, you got to practice harder. This is going to be tough. We got to be better.
When he finished his, this is what I thought about. We here on this show played word salad, right? And I feel like, what did I text you this morning? Word salad there isn't as much word salad on the menu anymore.
Yeah.
Thomas Brown is serving meat. Everything he says is like, it sounds confident, just the way, and
very
that's
direct.
Very direct, and that's the way he's calling the game. Decisive, knows. Here's what got everybody's attention was when they talked about that he knew he was ready with the next play right away. He knew, and it all made sense with which way they were going. How about DJ Moore saying he called the game the way we assumed games would be called from the beginning of the season?
Yeah.
And I sit there, Peggy, and I listen to Thomas Brown talk, and several of us reporters commented on the fact that we would play for him, right? Like he's somebody you'd want to play for. And then you wonder how they interviewed Shane Waldron and Thomas Brown for that same position and didn't hire him in the first place.
So Thomas Brown, my reaction to that is I love how he carries himself. I love that he's more decisive. I love that he's direct, because we have a lot of nice guys at Hallis Hall that are coaching and that are in leadership positions. Maybe too many nice guys, okay? And that, I don't know if that's a reflection of George McCaskey wanting people within their image, wanting good people, good guys, maybe Christian guys that carry their faith on their sleeve.
Yeah.
We've seen that in guys that they've hired.
Of course.
We have not had any guys with an edge. There have not been anyone that they may not like personally.
Right.
And it could be because they want the Bears to be within the McCaskey image. And I get that.
I do too.
It might be a common denominator in why they're not winning football games.
Right.
You might win in the charisma department.
Personality.
You might win at church.
Yeah.
You may not be winning a lot of football games, right? And so my warning though with Thomas Brown is they still only scored 19 points.
Oh, correct.
When he took over play calling for Frank Reich in Carolina, it was also against Green Bay. They went out and scored 30 points against Green Bay. Green Bay ended up winning on a field goal in the final 5 minutes. But then the Panthers, after that first game, they kind of went on that high, and then they went on a slump.
Of course.
And Frank Reich had to take the play calling back from Thomas Brown. And then Reich got fired, and then Brown went back to being the play caller. So I think we have to be careful. Let's see how he does in these last 8 games.
Completely agree with you, Peggy. I completely agree with you. I need to see more.
Yeah.
I think what was so encouraging was we all commented on it, felt like Caleb was regressing. And he gets a new play caller on Wednesday. and plays on Sunday, and around the league, not just here locally where we're so with the magnifying glass on him, but around the league, the comment was, that's the best game he's played as a pro. So that is what gets everybody excited. So yes, but it gives you also the belief and hope that they can build on that.
Right.
Having a full week with Thomas Brown in their head and getting that connection and that communication clear. And I think that what I liked the most about Brown was that he met Caleb where he was at. They didn't simplify the offense, is what he said. That's what Caleb said. They didn't simplify the offense. But he knew how to get things out of him. He met him where he was at. He didn't try to ask him to do more or to be more. It was just, let's do what you can do well. And maybe it looked a little bit more like a college offense, but they were in it.
Yeah.
They had a chance.
So the other thing that I was reading this week or listening to, some of the former NFL coaches said that when you break down the Bears film, you can see the trends. So you know why they're doing things to set up the next play, right? Or to set up a play 2 plays later. When in breaking down Shane Waldron's games, they couldn't figure out what it was he was trying to set up. Now, some of that was Caleb because he had options on plays, and some of it was Caleb taking the wrong option.
Right.
So that's why when Caleb says, I played a role in this too, I have to be better. He's right. He was taking the wrong options.
Yes.
And he was trying too hard, bypassing his second read to go deep, which might have been his third or fourth option. So, but what was happening was there was no rhyme or reason to the play calling. And they couldn't figure out what it was Shane Waldron was calling. And why were you calling this for what?
Right.
Usually that should set up a run or that should set up your pass. And it wasn't.
Right.
So they said that it was very scattered with the play calling. So that really jumped out at people. And the other thing is, we knew with the number of times that the clock was running down and the cadence issues that Caleb was having with a brand new offense, and where a play call could have 30 words in it, when you know that the clock keeps winding down and this becomes an issue,
Right.
you shorten your play calls.
Hello.
Correct. That should not have taken 9 weeks to figure out that this was a problem.
No.
Instead, they just wanted Caleb to give him as much as possible to sink or swim.
Right.
And he was sinking.
He was sinking.
So-
Peggy, didn't we remember during preseason we talked about the cadence issues? During preseason, remember?
Yes.
I'm still confused. What did they do? What have they been doing since OTAs? What?
I know.
What?
So, all right, let's take a break. When we come back, coming up, we are going to talk to an old colleague of ours, Dawn Mitchell, who works at Fox in Minneapolis. She is one of the Vikings reporters. She does the pregame and the postgame shows as well for Fox in Minneapolis. We're going to talk to her because Kevin McConnell is actually... O'Connell. Did I say McConnell?
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, I'm thinking someone else.
That's okay.
Kevin O'Connell is actually very Flus-like. Super positive. Always we'll talk about the good, not the bad. And it drives them crazy as well. But why is it working in Minnesota and it's not working here in Chicago? That is what a lot of teams want.
Yeah.
And that's what Flus is. But somewhere along the line, it became all words
And not production.
and not production.